Taiwan doesn't have the capacity to become a hub, but Taiwan could possibly reach the near hubness. Number two, we also recommend that Taiwan to look beyond the regional horizon, and that's a third way to look at the Pacific Alliance. All right, let's get to the fourth part, and that probably is what Larry remind us over again, that Larry wants us to say, bring 3 points to the conference, and we do. However, we did add 2 before we get to 3rd. That is, we discuss the agricultural sector, which is an economically weak but politically strong sector in Taiwan, and so as in Japan and other countries. Number 2, I talk about the services sector, which Dr. Hu said this morning, and so as Dr. Cheng. But I think more complicated in liberalize the services sector, the more than economic reason there. It's a social-political complicated factor, which I think in the next couple of weeks, when the LOI start to ratify the service pay with China, is going to become self-evident. Now, Larry said, asked us 3 points. I may not have the time to go over that, but that was our conclusion. Number 1, I discussed about the branding and enhancing the value added of the OEM by functional and process technology. If I have time, I will share with you the Stancy's smiling curve and the flatten out, which Dr. Jen this morning mentioned. Number 2, we also advocate to innovate the new production technology. I've been telephone conversation with my friends in material science, talk about what is 3D printing technology. And so that's our second point. Number 3 is an oral paper which I wrote with other authors about Taiwan to exploit the untapped trade potential. As Taiwan still has some niche product in some niche market, which does not require any trade pact. Taiwan didn't find this treasure. My co-author is the chief economist in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Canada. And he was very enthusiastic. He said, Peter, you present this, Taiwan should be very interested. A little bit disappointed, my paper did not generate enough enthusiasm in Taipei. I presented in Taipei a few years ago. Now I'm going to slow down, all right, talk about the low utilization of the FTA. To many of you, this would be something like a sour grape argument. Sour grape argument. Why? Because a survey from the ADB, the Asia Development Bank, shows that the utilization rate for the FTA was very, very low, right? For Japan, it's less than 30%. In Thailand, it's about 40%, about 25%. Singapore signed most of the FTA, but utilization rate in Singapore is only 17.3%. Look at Taiwan. Taiwan signed the ECFA with China, and lots of this controversial government, advocates so much, and so on and so forth. What is utilization rate of ECFA? Up to 2012, only 20% of textile product export to China apply the early harvest product list, and now about 50% for the petrochemical product and the transport. So we don't think that FTA, sign FTA is one thing, and utilize the trade pact is another thing. Of course, I recognize, I'm not so naive, I recognize psychologically participation or lack of the participation of the FTA possibly will affect the incentive for investment, both domestic and in world. But as Dr. Tan pointed out, after signing the ECFA, domestic investment in Taiwan did not pick up. Inbound foreign investment into Taiwan did not increase. On the contrary, the outbound investment increased. This is somewhat we have to reconsider. All right, let's get to the. How can I get back? How can I get back to? Yeah. This. Here. All right, let's get to the business. I can skip some of the section. All right. All right. This may show that there's some interesting country coverage, and our focus is on the fewer memberships. That is, there are 7 countries. They belong to both ASEAN and the TPP. And that's what we advocate. Taiwan should start with the bilateral negotiation with those countries, including New Zealand, which already completed, and Singapore. And then, next one would be countries like Malaysia, all right? Not Thailand, Malaysia and Vietnam, all right? And incidentally, that we realize that the ASEAN is a possibility, all right? Now let's get to the. I think I mixed up. Okay, I'm going to skip this section because I don't have time. Yes, if there's a comparison between the TPP and ASEAN, I think in terms of the political and the strategic interest, Taiwan would have the collateral benefit from the memberships in the TPP, all right? Namely, to enhance her economic and security nexus with the leading members in the club and further the safeguard for security. But it would be better if Taiwan can join both, all right? Both. But the political feasibility, which we have elaborated on the second section, would advocate that Taiwan should try to apply both. All right. Now, what's the problem now? The second part, we talk about the domestic politics. All politics is local. But what is unique to Taiwan is that Taiwan's pursuit of any FTA inevitably will untangle with the national identity and the partisan politics. Officially, the incumbent government said that Taiwan is going to sign both, seek for ASEAN and the TPP. But my co-author and I try to analyze from what the policy statement and the announcement. We still find there's a slight difference in terms of the preference of both parties. All right. For the Green Camp, pursued the agreement with China under the ECFA has been upset many people in the Green Camp. The Green Camp believe that China claiming the sovereignty on Taiwan has been unleashed Taiwanese businessmen or the Taisang to become a strong political pressure by which to leverage the KMT government to lean toward China. All right. However, the Green Camp is not totally opposed to liberalization trade with China, as far as we understand. Okay. What many in this Green Camp strongly in favor is for Taiwan to become part of the TPP before seeing any further cross-strait economic integration which would otherwise affect Taiwan's autonomy and their cherished aspiration of their pursuit of the jure independence. Respond to Dan's question, in the first week of July, I present a paper, this in Taipei, and there are some scholars, my friends in academia. Some of them work for KMT, some of them work for the DPP, but the DPP's scholars say our first policy platform in 2006 would be for Taiwan to join the DPP. That's what they say. All right, and I believe they work for the DPP government. Now, why is that reason? In the words of an interviewee in the Chinese authority, the ECFA served as an effective tool to enhance the formation of a one China political identity and to suppress the separatist independent movement, quote unquote. Taiwan's trade with and investment in China has generated disproportionate gain, more to the big business and less to the small and the medium enterprise. That's why we call it, income distribution to become polarized after the liberalization of the trade across the strait. Now, the KMT constitutions has been benefited more from the post-trade relationship. This comes with a voting bloc, the voting bloc. However, constitutions of the two political camps tend to harbor divergent attitude toward the expansion of the ECFA and deeper economic integrations. Given the economic and the political effect of economic liberalization with China, the Green camp would be alienated if the incumbent government prioritized RCEP over the TPP. Warranted or not, many in the blue are worried of joining the TPP. I think government is going to deny that, not because necessarily oppose it, but they probably concerned that joining the TPP may antagonize Beijing and jeopardize the next round of the trade negotiation. This is our assessment, and that's not proof yet, but you can counterattack. The Green camp is worried of asymmetrical dependence, but the Blue camp has no problem. To paraphrase P.K. Jiang's statement, there's nothing wrong to rely on Chinese market. The worrisome is that China does not Taiwan to rely on Chinese market. But the Green camp said that what? If you rely on the Chinese market, Taiwan will join China's orbit economically in the short term, politically in the long term. Again, it's all our observation, does not represent either party. Anyway, there's a very interesting civil group, the human rights group, the labor movement, the environmentalists, and other group which has long advocated for the labor standard, and looks like the civil group become more and more outspoken. They probably prefer more on the TPP over the RCEP. Now, look at external. The single most important formidable hindrance for Taiwan to ink the trade pact is the China factor. China has a minimum tolerance for Taiwan's presence in the international arena and for other countries' assistance to help Taiwan to secure its press. All right, I don't have to exaggerate that. China's stand on the issue can be summarized on 3 points. First, expand the ECFA, which will further incorporate Taiwan into its orbit economically in the short term, politically in the long term. Number 2, delay his reply to Taiwan's aspiration or join the RCEP, and then allow Taiwan to negotiate the RCEP only after its scheduled completion in maybe 2015. Number 3, to prevent Taiwan from fair trade with the TPP by demoralizing it as a device to contain China's economic and political influence. Even though the U.S. has repeatedly declared it is not against China, but if China cannot prevent Taiwan from bidding its TPP memberships, then China probably will try to draw some red line for the U.S., which is the leading player of the TPP. All right, so therefore, we argue that what Taiwan should pursue with a bilateral FTA with those dual memberships, because the sequential order dictates that ASEAN as a group is more interested on the FTA +1, ASEAN +1, and Taiwan doesn't have the FTA with the ASEAN. And there's a double eligibility standard for the TPP. That is, join as a group and then you have the individual members, as somebody pointed out. So Taiwan can only prepare for, but rather than apply for this RCEP. But as a member of the APEC, Taiwan is eligible to apply. All right, so we recommend that Taiwan should